Hello, and welcome to Sobercast, where we provide AA speaker meetings and workshops in podcast format. We're an ad-free podcast, and if you enjoy listening, please help us be self-supporting by visiting Sobercast.com, look for the donate link, and drop $1 or $2 into our virtual basket. We hope you enjoy the podcast. Have a great day.
Ray C. Hey, everybody, I'm Ray. I'm an alcoholic. Good to be here. You know, somebody relapsed. I don't know. I got a little experience with relapsing too, but I said to him, outside of an AA meeting, who cares when the last time you drank was? You know, could you imagine walking up to a guy and saying, I didn't drink in, like a year. It'd be, what? What are you, nuts? Yeah. So what matters is your connection to God. So, that hit me hard years ago. I was a chronic relapser. I came into AA I was dragged to a meeting in the 70s, but I went to a rehab in 82. And I stayed clean for about, sober for maybe 5 years. Maybe, because I don't really know. Because when I drank or used, I don't know about you, but I didn't change my clean date sometimes. Still wanted the coins. I got them. I have coins. I've since made amends to the groups that I've taken the coins from and chaired the meetings on other substances. Figured, they were all drunks. You didn't know if my eyes were all pinned shut on something else. So I went back. I made all amends. I want to say this, that after being sober for 5 years, and I got to tell you, I really felt the presence of God during those 5 years. There was no mistake about it. The reason I was sober was there was a presence of God on me. I did some kind of step work, certainly not out of this book. I did the family amends. I did some of the easier amends, but it was enough, and I had enough of God's grace on me that it lasted for like I said, about 5 years. I don't know. When I picked up, I got to tell you, it was suddenly, just like in this book, and I had no idea what I was doing, because if I had to choose, I certainly wouldn't have chose that. And it was just years where I could not stop anymore. And finally, I just figured I'm destined to be one of those guys coming in and out of rooms that never, ever stops drinking again. And so I remember going to these meetings, and they were just tired of me. They were just saying, who relapsed, me. And they didn't have anything for me. They didn't know what to do. And I moved, thank God. I see it all now as God's grace. I moved, and I was in this meeting. I'm sharing again. I don't know what the heck I was sharing about, but I certainly wasn't sober, or wasn't staying sober. And this woman after the meeting says, why don't you go talk with him? And she was talking about Chris S. Why don't you talk with him? He works with guys like you. All right. So I walked up to this guy and said, listen, I have to tell you that there's no way I would have even wanted to stop anymore, but I had a little daughter at the time. She was 2.5 months, and I was driving around and semi-blacked out, and I just noted this girl did not deserve a drunk or a drug addict as a father. And I knew that, but I also knew I couldn't stop no matter what. So I approached him, and this man took me into his house, and he explained what alcoholism was to me. I never had it explained. I might have had it explained in rehabs, but I never had it explained like that. And I tell you, I don't remember much about what he went through, but I do remember him saying that I was under God's grace right now, and I was sober because of God's grace. And who knows how much time I have, and let's do this fast. and within 2 weeks I was on amends. And I remember he started the process. He says, write out your resentment list. And I hated everybody. I hated everyone. I hated you if you were my family, if you were my friend, or if you were my enemy. I hated you for something. I just did. And as I was writing the fourth column, I wasn't writing it. He told me we're going to meet on Sunday. So Saturday night I started writing it. It was a week earlier. And I do that now when I take someone through to work. I give them a time. I give them a date when we're going to meet again, because I just know if you're anything like me, well, you're just not going to do. I got to have this book read to me. I'm not picking this book up and reading this. It's just not. I need it read to me, and I need to be told, Ray, you meet me on Sunday to do your step work. I go, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm coming. Well, I started doing this, and a lot of these resentments just started falling. I wrote them down anyway, and I got to tell you, from that Sunday on, my thinking is so much different. I truly don't look at I'm not the same person from that day on. I really am not. I do not look most of the time, all right? I realize that the trouble is always me, most of the time. Now, if I got a resentment really hard on me, I can't get there on my own. I got to pray. I got to grab my sponsor. I got to grab somebody. We got to do the prayers again, and I got to go. And usually it ends up in an amend, because at the very least, I'm not forgiving this person. That's the very least. And I know now that resentments lead to amends. So I can't think about that, because I'll just start saying, well, I don't really have the resentment, because I don't want to make amends to this guy. I hate him. But we're talking about accessing God, accessing the power of God. Well, I'll tell you what. I know how to not access the power of God, and that's to have a resentment on me. I have absolutely no power to stop drinking if I have resentments on me. It's over and over again. I have proved that. So it is life or death for me to not have resentments. And years ago, when I had 100 resentments, throw another one on. It didn't matter. But now that I'm living free, one resentment is way too much. It's just too much. I can't live with one resentment. And I know the tough ones are if there's someone that it's an ongoing relationship, work or family or friends. I understand that. But it's still, it's so important that I live free from resentments. Obviously prayer and meditation, and I even go to church now. I switched from, let me step back. I relapsed years ago. I was doing the amends. I was even paying people back money that I owed them, because that made no sense to me. I was a big thief too. What made no sense is, why should I pay back money to someone who I got away with robbing? It just made no sense. You're talking. If I went to a candy store or any other store, if something fit in my pocket, I thought you were a sucker if you paid for that. I was in a rehab. I was in a halfway house one time, and I'm shoving cigarettes down my pockets. And he goes, "What are you doing?" He's the guy that drove us there. You're gonna get kicked out for that. I go, "It's cigarettes. What are you talking about?" I really didn't understand that was wrong. I knew not to get caught, but I didn't understand that it was wrong, morally. Chris says you do good, esteemable action, you get good self-esteem. You do bad action, you feel bad about yourself. And my actions also. If I'm causing harms, I'm doing bad actions, I'm not going to. I'm certainly not going to have a connection to God. But I went from I relapsed years ago, and I was like a step Nazi, man. I was taking people through to work, and no, I'm sorry. I was doing all my amends. I wasn't taking people through to work. That's what it was. but I was judging people. I mean, I'd go to meetings, and if they had 20 years, I'm judging them if they're not doing the steps. All right? And relapsing after about a year and a half was the best. It was a good cure for that, because it humbled me. And what happened was I got sick. I don't talk about this too often, but it's what happened to me. I got cancer, and they were ripping lymph nodes out of me. And one of the early readings of the AA guys was "I Will Lift Up Mine Eyes" from Glenn Clark. And I had this book for a couple of years. Chris told me to get it, and I had a couple of these books. And in that one book, he was talking about this guy who had a nervous breakdown, and he was recovering in the Great Lakes somewhere. All right, it was one of the Glenn Clark books. I think it was that one. And his rehab was he was rowing. He would row a boat, and he was a really wealthy guy, and he was starting to get better, and he was actually going to be able to go back to work. And one day he was rowing a boat, and he fell asleep. He was on a Great Lake, and he floated out into the middle of the Great Lakes, and it's like an ocean, and it's starting to get dark, and he wakes up, and he says, "Oh no." And he starts praying. He says, asking God for help. And he says, just then it dawned on him that here he was asking God for help, but he has never, ever done anything for God in his whole life. And he's going to devote half his life or 50% of his life, something like that, to God. And I'm reading this just when I'm saying, "Oh, God, help me." And I says, "You know what? All right, I'll work with others." And I started working with other people. And there was a couple of reasons. One, I was lazy. I didn't want to work with people because I was lazy. Two, I had better things to do, like watch TV. And three, I was afraid. I was afraid to say the wrong thing because I didn't know this book. Like I said, I had people read it to me. I never really read it myself. But I started taking people through the work. And obviously I'm still here, and everything worked out. But that really changed my life. I can't even tell you how much that changed my life. Working with others, some of the closest relationships I have in the whole world are the people that I've taken through the work. And I got to tell you, I'm not crazy about the name sponsee, because I think it puts someone on a higher level, because I watch guys I've taken through the work, and man, they are. I go to them for advice. I go to them when I'm not hooked in, and thank God. So I think we're all brothers and sisters when we get through this, and we're all connected. And I've gone from that to and I was really, really hardcore. If somebody didn't want to go through the work, or if somebody was balking on amends, I didn't have too much compassion, I got to tell you. I would you don't want it, and I'd go to the next person. I was working with lots of people. And not too long ago, somebody was talking about me to someone else. I heard about it, and they says, "Oh, what do you want to go to him for? He's the easier, softer way." Talking about me. I said, "Wow, I must be getting spiritual, because I'm not going to drop somebody like I would have years ago. I'm just not gonna. In the book, Working with Others, and another way, if you want to access the power of God, work with others. When I'm off, it's really difficult for me to get into self when I'm working with others. And in working with others is if you persist. And I never read that years ago. I was always putting the onus on the person I'm taking through the work. But it also says, we walk hand in hand, and I have to persist. Sometimes some people take a little longer. So what? Sometimes, ready for this? I'm going to say it. Maybe they don't have to do all the amends. I don't know. I didn't believe that years ago. I got to tell you. Sometimes people get sober in church, and they don't have to do what I do. And it doesn't matter to me anymore. I guess that's what I'm saying. It really what matters to me is that I do my part. I pray, I meditate. When I have a resentment on me, I'll tell you something about resentments. One time Chris asked me to speak on amends, and I'm talking. I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm sitting amends. I can't do amends without talking about resentments, because the resentment for me ends up, most of the time it's a resentment that ends up being an amend, or it could be just a harm, but a lot of times it's a resentment. And as I'm talking, I said, I got resentments. I got resentments, but I classified them. I put them in a different category. They were work. It's got nothing to do with me and everything else. That's not true. That was affecting me, and I had to go and make amends to those people. There was 3 people, and I had to go make amends to them. And the 11th step. You could go to page 52 if you have those bedevilments on you. This is just funny. When I walk into a meeting for the first time and I have all these bedevilments on me, and they tell me to stop no matter what, and I said, well, wait a minute. I have trouble with my personal relationships. I can't control my emotions. I'm miserable. I'm depressed. I can't make a living. I feel useless. I'm unhappy. I'm full of fear. That's why I drank. That's the reason I drank, and alcohol did work for that. I drank. I'm not that unhappy, at the moment. Not that fearful. Yeah, it did work, but obviously, what goes along with it is trouble. So I go through this work, and I can't tell you all the different types of, be quick to see where religious people are right. Well, I wasn't quick, and I certainly didn't see, and I certainly wasn't quick. I used to make fun of people that would go to church. I thought they were weak. One of the lines that really hit me hard out of this book was, paradoxically, men of faith have courage. I said, wow. I was living with all this fear. On the outside, I would have never told you I was afraid of anything. But the truth was, I was afraid. I was afraid of it all. And when I have real faith, I am not afraid. What came to me when I had that cancer was, you know what? If I'm going to die, how do I know it's not better that I go than to live? And here's what I mean. Maybe my will would have been to live and, God forbid, be driving with my daughter in the car and cripple her. Well, I'd rather be dead than that. It's not my choice. It's not my business, rather. If I was to go, I was going to go. And and that was faith. And what's scary is for 2 weeks before I got diagnosed with that cancer, I was praying for more faith. So really be careful if you're praying for more faith. Like, say, God, give me more faith, but don't give me cancer. You got to throw some other things on it. I can't tell you what a blessing it was getting sick. I can't even begin to tell you, because I wouldn't have that kind of faith. And then when the everyday problems come and the fears come, financial insecurity, that's been on me a little bit. I had some other illness that was on me a little bit, and what happens is you get kind of battle tested. Why does time matter? Time matters because you're gonna when someone has lived sober through those trying times and rested on God rather than alcohol. I want what that guy has. I want what that woman has. That's everything for me. That's walking through life without being afraid and having absolute faith. Faith is trust, and if I have that kind of faith, what do I have to worry about? If God is right here, right next to me, with His arm around me, what do I have to worry about? Well, that's real faith and real trust. And there's some things that I got to tell you, the scary thing is I don't deserve it, and sometimes there's nothing I could do to have it. There's nothing I could do. I pray. I think the prayers really matter. Prayers, meditation. I meditate. I meditate on the Word in the Bible now, rather than just years ago I used to do Hindu meditation, clear my mind. But what matters is I keep growing toward God. That's what matters. I was always short with my child, and like if years ago if she would drop something, I would get upset, and my father was like that. I don't know if it had anything to do with it, maybe, but it's not something I like about myself, and I have been noticing that's going away. I just don't care. I don't care if you drop something. I don't care if what matters is tolerance and patience. And I would not have been close to get any of that if it wasn't for that man taking me into his house. And I didn't look like I look right now. And he brought me into his house, and this guy just showed love to me when I did not love myself anymore. I tell you, it wasn't a pretty picture, and he took me through this work. I got to tell you, I want to talk about this one amend I made. It was a house a couple houses ago, and I brought my neighbor in my backyard was going to call the township on me because mud was going down on his house. And I said, you know what, let me use this. I'm furious. This was years ago. I'm furious. I want to do everything from attack him to just, the back of his house was facing the back of my house. I could just throw rocks at his house for his whole life. This is where my thinking goes, So I said, let me use this, and I wrote it out, and called somebody up, and all right, why was that? Well, the guy's name was Bob. I'm mad. Bob, why is Bob? Why am I mad at Bob? Bob is going to call the authorities on me. And what's it affect? Affects everything but pocketbook and a lot of other stuff. And then I pray, fourth column. I brought 100 tandems of dirt into my backyard. It wasn't a big backyard. 100 tractor trailer loads of dirt into the backyard over the weekend because I knew it was illegal, because I knew we only allowed 3 trucks because it changes the grade. I mean, I beep, beep, beep all weekend long. And I'm sitting with piles of dirt. It's July, it's supposed to be dry, and we had the biggest rainstorms that we ever. It looked like California mudslides. It just went onto his yard. And this guy had a beautiful manicured, like he had flowers and trees, and I'm mad at him. I'm mad at him after doing this work. I says, oh my God. I grabbed the shovel. I walk into the backyard. I just sunk. I mean, it was just too much. It was just so much. I went back in the house through the show. I walked around. I made amends to this guy. I mean, right there. I just made amends to this guy. And I hired landscapers to fix it. And you know what? When he dropped his daughter off at the same school that my daughter was going to, I didn't have to hide or wait for him to come first, or have an altercation with him. And you want to talk about being tapped into God. Well, without that thinking, without this process, I am just completely shut off from the sunlight of the Spirit. I don't get this. I'm just not wired like that. I'm wired as self. I run on self. I'm self-centered fear. I'm afraid. I'm selfish. I'm self-centered, and I don't give a shit about anyone. And the truth is, when I go through this process, it's a real easy process. This step work is, it's not that big a deal. If you haven't done the steps, go do the steps. It's not that hard. I go through this process, I get to the other side, and I can walk around. I don't have to hate this guy, Bob. I don't even have to hate myself anymore. And I really don't hate myself. I hated myself for years. Regrets, I don't regret the past anymore. I made a lot of really, really stupid moves in my life. But you know what? All those moves, I'm the sum total, we're all the sum total, everything we did in our lives, it got us right here, right now. So, I can't think that God's path for me was wrong. I don't think that's a healthy way of thinking for me. It got me right here where I am right now. And I got to tell you, I don't know if anyone here has relapsed or if anyone's had some doubt, because I certainly did. There was a number of times in the past before I gone through this work again that I thought that I'm never going to get that connection with God again. I really thought that was going to happen. I knew I had a connection, and then I knew it was gone, and I said, oh no, I ruined it. I'm never ever going to get it again. And I don't believe that to be true. I think prayer, meditation, working with others is key. Just keep asking. I know God He just answers all the time. I want to thank this group for asking me to speak, and I want to open up I'd like to open up the meeting now for people to share questions or anything. All right.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Sobercast is ad-free, and we'd like your help in order to keep it that way. So if you'd like to help us be self-supporting by pledging $1 or $2 a month, visit Sobercast.com and look for the donate links. Thank you very much.